We're going to call the meeting to order. Tuesday, March 10th, Board of Fair Commissioners meeting. We have our legal notice here, so I don't have to read it, I guess. That's good.
Isn't that handy?
Yeah. So please read that if you would. First order of business is approving the minutes from our last meeting, February 11th. Those were circulated. We have 3 commissioners in attendance. If we've had a chance to review them, have any questions or comments?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The minutes are approved. All right, do we have anybody here for public comment time?
Not all at once.
If not, we will carry on with the monthly reports. First up is the financial report. Good morning.
I'll take this
Okay.
one. As you all know, Ms. Felicia Bowman had tendered her resignation, and throughout the last month we have transitioned to a new finance and administrative manager. I want to introduce Cetrice Allen. This is her first day. She's been on the clock for like 40 minutes. So we are thrilled to welcome Cetrice into our little Fairgrounds family. What is fantastic about Cetrice is that she comes from Metro and from social services specifically, and they were impacted by the tornado. And so it's been a tough week for her. And the transition the learning curve should be much quicker, as she doesn't need to learn a lot of the Metro systems. Certainly there's a lot to learn about the Fairgrounds itself. So with this transition, we do not have a monthly financial report as you're used to seeing, but we will catch you up next month with both February and March prior to the April meeting. So otherwise, we're still working with the mayor's office in our budget. You know that there is an accelerated budget season upon us, and so we are working with them on 2 things, of course. Our operational budget for fiscal year 21, our capital budget for fiscal year 21, and our end of year projections for the current fiscal year, which we are working on to determine subsidy needs. As you know, we've run into some revenue challenges with contract issues and our inability to collect full commission for food and beverage, which should be resolving. So we are going to be narrowing that down, although we have reduced our projected gap by 50%, both on an expenditure savings side and a revenue growth side. So we are closing that gap, and we are very pleased with that.
Welcome. So the facilities along 2nd Avenue, is that where you were? They were? Yeah. Part of that building was just knocked down, right?
Well, ours was not knocked down, but we don't have any power. We didn't have any. Ours was not knocked down, but we didn't have any power since the storm.
Yeah, it's been 10 days now of cleaning up, and a week, right? A week. Wow. Yeesh. Okay, so Laura, are you Ready to continue?
Yes.
Thank you.
Certainly the effort with the cleanups has been amazing. I think we want to recognize and honor all our first responders who, immediately leapt to work immediately following the tornado. And I have to say, I was in North Nashville on Saturday, and there had to have been 1,000 people there in a 4-block area diving in to help. There must have been a dozen people in every yard trying to get things cleaned up. So it's a testament to Nashville and Tennessee in all the counties that were impacted. So want to just recognize those people, certainly, again, our first responders and all of the social service agencies that have come to their aid, as well as leadership by administration in the mayor's office and getting out information and organizing. That said, we've got another issue that we are keeping abreast of, and that is coronavirus as an event venue that has a lot of people at any given time at our events. We are keen to certainly the new recommendations for social distancing. We are jazz hands instead of handshakes these days. We have increased our signage in our restrooms, just encouraging people to follow CDC guidelines for appropriate hand washing, the 20 seconds, and also General Services is providing extra training and a cleaning seminar to staff of buildings that are not under the control of General Services, just to educate them and remind them of proper sanitation techniques. So we will be certainly participating in that training as well. In the meantime, we've not seen any event cancellations as a result. We think there might be one. There was a cancellation yesterday. We think it is related to kind of a domino effect from coronavirus. So we're going to certainly monitor that, reach out to our promoters, and see what we can do to kind of keep business going as usual and to support them.
We may have been doing this already, but if not, I think it'd be wise to do some proactive outreach to our promoters over the next, say through the end of April, letting them know of our, policies and contingency planning too.
Thank you. The other thing in regards to our capital project is the Arts Commission is meeting in the morning. They are going to be discussing the final artist selection for our public art project and giving a procurement update. So that will be proceeding. This is for the large public art piece, and it was a national recruitment for that. And then what is to come is the local artist piece, and that is going to be later on in the year. So we're certainly going to keep involved with that. If you remember, Commissioner McAnally participated in that selection committee, and again, we will transition to the local, smaller functional art pieces in the next several months.
So did you repeat that? Did they pick a national?
Yeah, they are reporting on the final artist selection for that piece, yes, for
Okay.
the big piece.
Could you submit or provide that information to the board?
I will.
when it is?
I will. I'm gonna attend that meeting in the morning, and so I'll take notes and make sure that you all are provided with the materials that are distributed at that meeting. The next thing is we are getting very close to a contract with Track Enterprises. Thank Commissioner Bergeron for his time. There's been some back and forth, but pretty painless process, and so we should have that executed hopefully very shortly. And Bob has again been very good to work with. We've got a driver's meeting tonight, just bringing in again and just making sure everybody is communicated with for the upcoming 2020 season.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Laura?
Got some more, just kind of harping on the coronavirus since it's so prominent right now. I mean, what is going to be our policy? I mean, I'm assuming just taking directive from our promoters at this point, but what if, are we waiting for Metro, public health or whatever to, if they were to call, some type of action to not do that, to not have, social gatherings, et cetera? Would that be, I'm assuming, our policy to preemptively cancel it?
Yeah, Metro Public Health and the Mayor's Office, again, have partnered and have routinely been updating us on the status of coronavirus here in Davidson County. So we would definitely take their lead in what types of activities are going to be targeted for either restriction or closure as a result of that. They've got the latest updates as far as who is impacted by the virus and what type of contact they've had. So they have the most updated information, and they're getting that out to all of us as soon as they can once known.
Thank you. Anything else?
No.
Okay. We will move on. And Ed is here today. We were told otherwise.
It's the boss.
Fairgrounds Improvement Project update. Whoever. Thank you, Ed.
Absolutely. Good morning, board. Good morning, staff.
Good morning.
Good morning, council. I am here today. I will be leaving soon, so that may be why that was shared. But I will be out later this week until throughout the following week. Just to make sure everyone can hear me. That sounds better. In your packets, you should have the dashboards that you have for both the Fairgrounds Expo as well as and related projects, as well as the Fair Park budget. I'll be walking through those this morning. I have a couple of updates. Not an extreme amount of activity if you're looking at the line items. And of course, on the Fairgrounds, we're not having a lot of activity on the site, but we do have a couple things that we're working to finish out. Some of those are related to lighting controls and some trainings for systems and testing that we have to finish up. Then a few exterior items, but not a lot of movement there. One change that is significant that I want to highlight to the board, reviewed this with Laura and staff, but we moved or reallocated is the right term, $100,000 of what was in the construction line item under the Expo building and placed that back into the grandstands line item. We had zeroed that line item out previously. All those funds were placed up into the line item in Expo construction. We've been diligent in trying to figure out what exactly we will be spending those extra dollars on. Largely, they just made enough funds available for the general purpose and maintenance area, which is yet to be released. So this $100,000 that's being moved back down into the grandstands line item came from that allocation that happened later last year when we basically zeroed that line item out. The reason, Caleb, go ahead. The reason for doing so, as we prepare for racing season, there's a few items that need to take place. Lighting work as well as some electrical routing work needs to happen. Just preparing the facility so that it's actually ready for racing season.
We've got some discussions ongoing about. Got some discussions ongoing about potential NASCAR and others. So I guess I'd want to know more why we'd be spending $100,000 that potentially could be moot. These safety related, these absolutely necessary. I guess it's kind of what I'm want to zero in and get a little more detail on, please.
Absolutely.
A very valid question, and yes, they are. Lighting is key. We run the cars at night, and if you recall last year, there was some transition from our old lighting to upgraded LED, and that is finishing that project out. We have some very dim lighting that is located up on the grandstands that lights the front straightaway, and many of those lights are out. And so in order to properly light the track, we need those lights replaced. Unfortunately, their location also is a challenge, and we're having to do some custom brackets and retrofitting because of where they're located. On the front side of the grandstands, we're actually going to be relocating them to the top. We are also being very thoughtful about what lights that we put in so that they can be taken down and reused, so they won't be discarded. They'll be able to be reused at another time. And then the electrical work is we've got to rerun wires for caution lights, as well as separating out. We've been working with NES to separate out our concession buildings and some of the functional buildings down in the infield from the sports lighting. They are connected right now, and that's inappropriate because the electrical rates are different between those types of structures. And so that is also a requirement that's going to take us into the long term, and getting separate meters set up for that. So yes, I absolutely consider these safety items. And again, we're being really thoughtful about what types of lights that we're purchasing so that they can be reused.
Thank you.
If there's other questions about that, if not, I'll move on, because I jumped between the expo and then also jump down to grandstands. But I do want to highlight the demolition of the existing structures. So again, you have the layout of the budget there. There's been no changes to any line items. No costs have been paid from that bucket. But I do want to be clear that work has begun. So we have prepped the site. We do have planning that's going on. We do have our contractor engaged, as well as worked with Metro Utilities to figure out exactly what the timeline is for us to to de-energize and then remove poles that are in the area. So time I present to you next month, you'll start to see costs starting to hit that budget. As of now, we've just started to receive some invoices. They're being reviewed, but they've yet to be paid, so they haven't hit that line item yet. I already touched on grandstands, and of course, repairs, demo, and site master planning from previous work. There's been no adjustments. I'll touch on Fair Park, which is the green dashboard in your packets, if there are no questions on the blue sheet. Just to give everyone heads up, if you haven't driven past the site or that end of the Fairgrounds campus, demolition, removal of the building is essentially complete. Again, the budget you're looking at is about 30 to 45 days behind, so that's not fully reflected from what you're seeing. But just roughly speaking, of that $413,000, about $90,000 of that is related to the demolition work that's taking place. So roughly 1/4. The remainder of that budget will be grading the site, placing all the site work and finishes there, and then of course the necessary landscaping to make it a park-like setting. So that'll be happening over the next 2 to 3 months. Again, small dollar amounts related for our design and engineering team. Again, as we've been continuing to work with water services, as we prepare that site, we do have funds that are allocated there. We seem to be landing within budget. So hopefully, as we progress through all these things, you'll see these things tick down, but we won't need to raise any red flags in terms of concerns about not meeting our budgetary constraints here. And then again, if we do get to a point where we might hit an uh-oh or two, there still is $30,000 of contingency there. So just want to leave the board feeling comfortable with both the timeline as well as the budget for closing out that project.
See, we have some soccer goals that have been delivered.
Indeed.
Thank you for that. And do you have any update on those that are installation? I think they still need some nets,
Yep.
et cetera.
So in talking to Parks, of course, that was the last purchase out of this budget that's presented to you all of Parks funds. They don't install the nets because that leaves them open to damage until they're programmed. So they'll be arriving, I believe, in April. I think that's when they plan to start having the fields open. So you'll see the netting placed in them prior to them starting to open for soccer programming.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Ed. Ed basically covered all the high points. I think the fact is that Phase 1B, which is the Elections Commission building, is down. That earthwork is continuing, should be finished as weather permits. I mean, we're trying to we got some grading to do and that kind of thing. The demolition project, as Ed mentioned, they are on site. They have got the fencing in, the silt fencing in. We're trying to coordinate with NES and Comcast and some others to get some of their lines down. They're not really in the way. And of course, with last week's tornado, they've got other issues. So we're trying to work with them as closely as we can and be convenient. And then the actual demolition is scheduled to start next week. So they are doing asbestos remediation, environmental remediation right now. And so next week they plan to start the demolition. I will remind everybody that about a year ago today, we were coming off of one of the rainiest Februaries on record, and we were coming up with the steel, getting ready for the August functions that started happening in this building. And that Ed's numbers that he's been talking about have been consistent pretty much throughout the whole time. So I do think that things are moving along, and as Ed mentioned, the grandstands, we're putting some more money into the grandstands. We're a little over $1 million total into that facility and waiting to see where that goes. I think the discussions about Parcel 8C is continuing with the planning department and others, the mixed use group, and seeing how we can enhance that. And soccer, we're working to try to finalize schedules.
So I have a question. Maybe people have, with the tornado, working on other things, but what about the water issues that were discovered, that's been leaking here for probably a long time, but is there any update on that?
We find something every day. It's a 60-year-old facility. That's well over 100 years on this site, and there's new, and a lot of the records are not there on where things are and what condition they're in. We had a drill rig hit one, yesterday or day before? So we're trying to work it out. We're trying to get it capped. We've got the demolition contractor in there capping as much as he can find, and working with David Lewis, who has the most knowledge about the whole site, but even we're finding things he wasn't aware of. So it's just a site that has not had records kept, and we're tending to find them and work through them and try to patch them as we get to it. When we get done with the infrastructure project, all of that should be fixed, but that's where we are right now.
Will some of it still be utilized, or it will be all
Yeah,
redone?
there'll be a minimum amount. We're trying to, obviously got to keep the grandstands open while we're doing demolition. And then as we tie in with the new structures, the grandstands, and, everything we're trying to do is to make room for the grandstands and the race speedway to be improved. That plan has not been put together, but so there will be some stuff around the grandstand that'll be reused, but everything else is new. This facility is all new, and so of course soccer will be mixed use.
Anybody else?
Do you have any updates on service shed and planning for that?
It's designed and it's ready to go, and we're trying to coordinate that with other issues on demolition, and we haven't pulled the trigger to go with it, but that's it's continuing to be discussed.
Is funding for that a part of the existing budget?
Right.
Okay.
We have $1 million or so set aside for that.
Okay.
And we have 1.8 set aside for demolition. And as Ed said, we'll start hitting that. Hopefully we can shave a little bit off of those numbers if we can get going and not have any more. I know there's litigation going on and other things that could impact that, but assuming we can get going, we can think we can shave some money off of them.
One last thing I wanted to just call out for the board members, and I know Ron knows this, is, I've seen some things in the media from other Metro officials about us being over budget for this project, but, from looking at this, which just hasn't changed since, you've been giving these updates, the $41 million budget, we're actually under budget for that. So I know there's been some misnomers about it being a $25 million original budget, and we're over by spending 40 plus, and that's just not the case. So I wanted to correct that for the record and make sure everybody was aware of that.
That's correct. I mean, we've been talking about these numbers all along. The numbers came from 3 different sources. There was a $12 million set aside initially, I think in 2016 or 2015, to do this project, and then the $25 million that the city approved in September of 2018, and then we were not able to access the 4% money, which is usually used for equipment like kitchen equipment and things like that. So we were able to get some money from a fund left over of that 2016 fund in lieu of getting money for FF&E. So we're consistent. Everything's coming in line and as scheduled.
Question about, you talked a little bit about, I'll talk loud. Oh, no, there we go. Plaza design for the open plaza space, sort of adjacent to Parcel 8C or as part of Parcel 8C. And then also a little later to mention some potential grandstand expansion, if anything ever comes to that. I'm trying to understand, I'm reading the memorandum of understanding about the plaza. It talks about the importance of it being sort of an open, publicly usable plaza, and I want to understand some of the design elements about that. And I guess what I don't want to see it become is a parking lot, right? And so can you tell a little bit about how the design is going for that very important public plaza?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to do that without drawings. Basically, Parcel 8C was designed to have a mixed use of residential units and some commercial restaurant kind of occupancies. They still want to do that. They're looking at shifting where that is and how that may be laid out in order to create some open space. I want to remind everybody, and you guys know this better than most people, that this is big, huge pieces of property. So they're looking at getting an area that the planning department and others are comfortable with as a civic plaza. And I don't think there's any envision that it would be. We are envisioning that it would serve a lot of functions, from big flea markets to just a gathering place. I'll also point out that on the north side of the stadium, with the new design of the stadium, there is a plaza plan for there as well. And that plaza is going to be about 30 to 40% larger than the one in front of the courthouse downtown. So we're going to have civic opportunities, and I think the goal right now is to use what we have right outside in this grassy area here, and then have a connection with this new civic plaza on 8C as we go up the hill. But as you know, on this site, everything's interconnected. So if you move something here, then you have to assess how it impacts all of that. So the planning department's leading that effort, and it's moving. Yeah, they're discussing it and trying to come to an agreement on how that works, and the mixed-use team is working very well with us.
Yeah, obviously just trying to ensure that it really becomes a publicly usable plaza. What I don't want to see come back is that it's going to become an open space that trailers are going to be parked on for substantial port. That's not a good use of a public plaza. That's supposed to be for various functions.
Yeah, certainly not in that location. So this is going to be right in the center of the campus. So it's going to be a plaza that connects a lot of different functions, from the mixed use to the soccer stadium, to the speedway, and others.
There were a lot of interesting drawings and conversations in the public meetings we had. Are those drawings still around somewhere that could be?
They are. The most important thing is that we have the same a lot of the same players that were in all those public meetings on the
Okay, good.
professional side. We'll point out that Kim Hawkins and Hawkins Partners, who played such a vital role here, their office was totally wiped out in a tornado. But they're up and running already, which is amazing. And we had a meeting on Friday on this very topic, and they're helping to kind of find the optimum solutions. And I think it's going to really improve the overall plan.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you, gentlemen. Well, I think we covered A and B, and we would be on curfew policy.
If you recall, several months ago, we had made a motion to, well, actually, I don't think it was. It was just a discussion on developing a curfew policy for the fairgrounds. So over the last several months, Commissioner McAnally and I had done some research, benchmarking, of course, other municipalities with public spaces, trying to narrow it down into a similar kind of residential area. Certainly not all of them applied, but trying to get somewhat comparables in other parts of the country, as well as looking at, of course, what current ordinances are applicable to our piece of property, and then what our current curfew structure looks like. So in your packet, you have just some of that research outlined for you. This is a draft. Today, this is meant for really discussion purposes. You have some recommendations that have been presented. I'm certainly not looking for a vote today. It's really just a matter of structuring our curfew so that it is a little bit more consistent between activities. So essentially what you'll see up top is that a lot of our curfews, of course, have been driven by the Speedway, but we also have event curfews in place where traditionally our 10 p.m. curfew for outside events on traditional school nights, Monday through Thursday and Sundays. Certainly we have an indoor curfew as well. Generally our events indoor are till 11. That is for staffing reasons. Our staff leaves at midnight, so it gives a little bit of a cushion. However, in certain circumstances, with promoters, we have certainly extended those deadlines as long as, we communicate that in advance. That said, we are looking for a 10 p.m. curfew, or we recommend a 10 p.m. curfew for outdoor events with amplified sound on Friday and Saturday nights. 8 p.m. curfew for outdoor events with amplified sound when school is in session the following day. So generally that's going to be a Monday through Thursday. A 7 p.m. curfew for outdoor events on Sunday, again when school is in session the following day. A 9:30 curfew for outdoor events with amplified sound Sunday through Thursday when school is not in session. So some of the things that we envisioned could happen, we would really like to start activating the courtyard. This spring and summer is going to be a really good time to do that. We've had a full growing season under our belts with the Bermuda that is in the courtyard. And so we have envisioned, potentially partnering, and we're working with some local partners right now to see if they're interested in hosting some outdoor movies for the community in the courtyard. And so having, kind of a 9:30 curfew would allow us to do some outdoor music, or outdoor movies. So I don't want you to necessarily think that the events that we're looking to program at 9:30 at night are all like music festivals and those types of things. It could be, smaller events, again, movies, maybe some acoustic music, something to bring the community onto the property and potentially activate it during the week. We also recommend that if a promoter is requesting a later curfew, than what is approved, then they would have to build in time to come before the board and petition to an increase in curfew. It does put the onus on, certainly the promoter to just be conscientious of the activities that we do here on the fairgrounds, certainly conscientious of the community. And that way there is also some consideration for maybe the number of events and the spacing on events that may go longer. Frankly, when we have events in Fair Park, which have a tendency to be a much higher participation, some of our music festivals, things like that, they are certainly looking to go beyond 10. Usually the sweet spot to end those is from 10 to 11, and so there may be a consideration in there for one night, if it's a 2-night festival, of keeping 10 p.m. for one night and maybe going to 10:30 on a Saturday night. So that would be a consideration that the board could take up at a board meeting. The other thing that we've talked about is what are the repercussions for violating curfew? Again, putting some sort of financial penalty on the promoters, something that maybe hits their pocketbook a little bit to encourage them to follow curfews. So we have established a fine structure upwards of up to 60 minutes, certainly 1 to 15 minutes, $1,000. 16 to 30 minutes, $2,000, 31 to 45 minutes, $3,500, and then up to 60 minutes is a $5,000 fine. It has to be substantial enough so that it is looked at certainly as a serious matter, that we're not impacting certainly our operations if we go over. But again, being conscientious of our neighbors as well. So I'll kind of open it up for discussion or thoughts and see if we need to tweak anything.
Just one clarification on the front end, just to make sure these recommendations are not about the Speedway, and all the Speedway items are in the Speedway contract. I just want to make sure that's clear for everyone listening and discussing. These are about everything other than that, and that's usually contained in the racing contract. So I appreciate the work on this, and I appreciate I think that it's a good idea to have that sort of request mechanism to come in for later, because I think we learned a lesson with that music festival in the fall that was sort of a bit of a flashpoint. It resulted in resignations of 2 longtime NEAC members as a result of kind of going late both nights and noise. And I think that you raise a really good point that having back-to-back nights that go past curfew, that's kind of an issue. I think that's a heavy burden to drop. And so, yeah, that kind of thing where maybe if they come in and say, well, we've got 2 nights, we'll stop at 10 one night, but we would like to go later the other night. That seems like more of something that the board could consider, and if everything else is okay, find that as a reasonable kind of compromise. So I like that. I like that mechanism. One thing I would like to ponder over is the fine structure a little bit, and just making sure we think about the fine structure as it compares to the size of the event and the amount. Because if the event is a big weekend music festival, are they going to see $1,000 as a drop in the bucket? And they're saying, well, we're just going to blow past it. And so I think we would have to sort of just think about that some, and also just think about having the mechanism to pull the plug on festivals that just seem like they're just like, whatever, we're going to go blow past it. I've gotten feedback indicating that festival, its name I forget, from the fall, they may have had some issues in prior years when they were at Bicentennial Mall, and that was sort of known to not us, but known to, I think, maybe the Convention and Visitors Bureau at least, that group wasn't necessarily the most cooperative. I think we just have to think about the fine structure and other sort of enforcement mechanisms we have to just be able to enforce whatever we come to on that, making sure we have it's powerful enough to make it stick. As we know, we've had issues with various curfews that get set, and folks just don't don't comply.
And there's some security deposits that would vary as well, right? So
That's a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Laura and staff, for all your work on this. This is definitely an improvement, putting some teeth into the system. I had a few questions. What is a SIN's policy for curfew violation? Or I'm just curious what they do that may be congruent or complementary to this. Have we looked at that?
I do have that information. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Certainly their curfew is 11. They go a little
They
bit
go
later
later.
than we do, and they've also got very
Sound limits and stuff.
yes, they
Yeah.
do, and they use a lot of technology to monitor those noise levels. I'll pull that. I do have their contract.
Okay.
We did certainly look at that. I just can't recall it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So I can put that together for you and send that out.
It may be just worth. I mean, also I'd like to, hopefully put. I don't know if you're requesting a vote on this, but I'd like to have Commissioner McAnally's input on this, being this her, kind of bread and butter as well. But I think it would be worth maybe just reaching out to the SIND, folks, potentially. I don't know if it's the Live Nation or whoever, or the parks people, just learn if their best practices. I don't want to reinvent the wheel too much. And then I was also curious, would this cover anything in the property, including soccer?
There are some curfews of 10 o'clock that were discussed and is referenced in the operation agreement
Yeah.
with the team. So there is already some language set up in the contract for that.
Yeah, just that may be worth running up the flagpole with them too, just because I know there are some Sunday games, potentially some weekday games as well, and you get into overtime and other issues. So maybe having some, and I guess it goes back to maybe Ned's earlier point about or maybe it's Jason, about the discretion. I'd like to see some discretion in here for you, the Fairgrounds director, either to waive or increase the fee based on circumstances, because there could be some, a 5-minute overlay that may not be warranting a fine, and we may have technical difficulties that it might be our fault. So I think just having a little leeway from you to make, or the director, whoever that may be in the future, whatever, but to make that stick. I just think having something that we can put in place that's going to last for a long time is important too.
On the soccer team, that was one provision that I advocated for inclusion in the term sheet, which was a 10 p.m. concert curfew at the new stadium, and that was something that the soccer team agreed to, and in accord with them being very good partners, understood the importance of that. So I really appreciated that, and I know that sort of that provision was kind of one of the things that drove me to sort of ask Laura about talking about broadly what we're doing. But just to note that is in the term sheet we agreed to. So that's a good start. But it was for concerts. But I agree that for evening games, for night games, to the extent there are night games, although I don't know how many there are going to actually be, but to the extent there are, for a game, we can't, if they're on ESPN, they're on ESPN. Luckily with soccer, as I continue to find, it's not quite the same sort of. They don't pump in a lot of amplified sound. They rely on the crowds to sort of do their sing-song thing. So that's helpful, I think.
I was thinking about it. I was at a Preds game a couple weeks ago, and it went into the ninth shootout. And, I was there for forever, and it's like those things happen, and you just want to be good partners and being discussing with this. And I guess also added, I don't know if Colby and the neighborhood group have seen this too, but I think it'd be good to make sure their input as well on it.
Yeah, agreed.
one thing also, in the mixed use component, if there's restaurants and they're having a event, if you will, or they may apply for a permit to use the plaza or or even if not, in their own space, they might have a semi-layout event coordinated with something else going on the campus. So,
if they were in that kind of situation, it might start to come into just the metro noise ordinance at that point. Like a restaurant or something like that, it would be just like any restaurant in Midtown or something like that, which I think is 10 as well. I think the metro noise ordinance is 10 unless you're in the downtown entertainment district, right? Which I think we could confirm all that, but I think that's a really good. I like the way we're being really proactive about it. I think one thing that happened with Ascend, as awesome as a venue as it was, is they didn't have a lot of that figured out, and it took a couple good years for them to start to work it out on the back end. Because once you get something rolling, it's hard to do that. So I think it's really good that everybody's being really proactive and thinking about down the road what could be.
okay, so at some point you envision bringing this for a vote. Okay. Thank you. All right, so Speedway Motorsports, Inc. update, please.
Well, of course, with the recent announcement with, proceeding with soccer, the public plaza adjustments, et cetera, I reached out to SMI just to have, again, open up conversation with them, and certainly they have expressed their interest in advancing discussions with the board and kind of figuring out what those next steps and how to proceed in those discussions. So I kind of just, again, open it up to you all on how you would like to proceed with those discussions as a plan is developed, certainly along with administration. Obviously, there's financing that needs to be worked out and other things. So this is just, again, from our perspective on how we move forward.
Check. Obviously, they can speak with you, and they have, right? So, beyond that, if we wanted to ask one of the board members to be the appointed to potentially meet with you, that might be appropriate. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Have they made any recommendations to you, or have you heard any recommendations from the administration? I just don't want to get too far out. I know they would like to talk to us, but I also feel like there's a lot more bigger issues that that have to be worked out before. I think definitely we want to be, as a board or representative of the board, to be involved in those discussions. To, as a very large stakeholder, as part of such, but also don't want to be. I don't think it's. We should be out front too much, being that the financing and other, issues are surrounding that. But, I'm open to all, ideas on what would be the best way to move forward. And maybe you should just kind of getting a little feel from the mayor's office as well as the team of what kind of structure would be most productive for best use of time too.
Agreed. Timing is interesting, because as Ron explained during his update, this is an overall campus project, and so everything is so interconnected. So anticipating improvements to the Speedway that's intimately linked with adjacent infrastructure, of course, with the public plaza area, with 8C, with Fair Park and Phase 2 of Fair Park, all of it has to be taken into consideration. Mobility around the site is all, again, interconnected. So I want to, my goal so far is to be, really involved and updated on all of these separate discussions to bring them all together into a comprehensive campus plan. In my discussions with the mayor's office, that is also their desire, is that we look at this in a very detailed way. Again, when somebody comes on the campus, in whatever access point, what does that look like for them? How do they engage with the property, and how are we activating it on all of the different levels? It's tough to make individual, plans without considering the potential of the whole. So even though, yes, we're farther behind on, discussions with SMI than we are with soccer and mixed use, certainly that is been communicated by the mayor's office, to me and publicly, that, they're very interested in seeing what that partnership could develop into. We have to be thoughtful of what that could look like and how it interplays with everything else that we're doing on the campus and supporting, of course, our existing uses.
I think that where the financial piece does cross over into us is making sure it's financially sustainable. And a lot of the research I've done around the country is making sure that we are one of the we would be one of the tracks that is financially sustainable and not going down the path of some of the other ones that we've run into. So I think that that's a real important piece. That's where the financing piece does come to us, because we're going to the board will be responsible for overseeing that, and so we've got to understand what the structure would be to make it financially sustainable, and if that is feasible, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of a chicken or the egg type thing in a lot of these pieces, because we've got to hear about the overall financing to make it happen, and then we've also got to make sure the structure after that would work. So that has to be kind of discussed now to bring it all together, right? But yeah, it is kind of a little bit of a conundrum. I would just say that I don't know. I don't know, from a procedure perspective. The board nominated me last summer, and I had 2 lengthy meetings with SMI, and had a lot of these discussions 8 months ago, 7-8 months ago. And so, I'm happy to continue to have those discussions. I put a lot of time and research into this. They put out some statements a month or so ago saying that they've done everything they've asked. I was a little relieved to hear that, because that indicated to me they found a lot of the discussions we had doable. So I thought that I'm hopeful that that's what that meant when they said that. And I'm happy to continue to meet with them to try to bring all these disparate pieces together to make sure that it's a well-financed, sustainable plan that is also brings benefit to the community in a responsible manner. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah, I think just the general sense that you've seen, as Laura said, it not only in the press, but just signals to us that communication is opening up. And actually, I think we're involved more here on the front end than potentially we were in the soccer situation, which was presented to us as a pretty much complete package and plan. So I would just encourage Laura to continue to have dialogue, not only with the mayor's office, but with SMI representatives, and she can involve the chairman, the vice chairman, one board member at a time, until we have something specific, and just have transparency and public discussion here at these meetings, and try to flesh this out and see what the opportunities are for their involvement. They're obviously interested. Obviously, a lot of the conversation does not happen at these meetings, but try to get more of that conversation into these meetings would be good. So I think, just my one vote, not that we're voting on anything, but I would encourage more conversation with SMI and the mayor's office, and I'd be happy to be involved. I'm sure Aaron or any of the other board members would be happy to jump into a meeting or a conversation until we have something specific, and then maybe we would appoint someone to be the point person. So that's my thought.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. I mean, I think it's a very fluid situation, and we all bring different skill sets to the table, so it may be worth just having the flexibility for you to bring in people as needed. And also, we have a lot of different fluidity to our board right now, and various appointments and stuff. So it may be worth just keeping it casual till the talks heat up.
I think obviously the mayor's office will be the point for this, and Mayor Cooper, as made it clear, he's interested in what can happen here with a comprehensive plan. So this is a critical juncture, I think, before all the details on the design, and we are all obviously very interested in how this plaza will unfold, and how the state fair can be here, not only this year but beyond that. So there's a lot of pieces, as Ron pointed out. You push one thing, and something else has to go a different direction. So the way this thing unfolded, I mean, Fair Park was the first piece of the puzzle a long time ago. And we started down that, and then all of a sudden we had the $12 or $13 million that for renovating on the hill, and then here comes soccer, and here's another $25 million to build a brand new space like this. So these decisions and these budgets came about at different points in time, and now we're trying to, and we got a racetrack here that's aging but has potential, and it's part of our part of the events that have been here for a long time, and that's part of our charge to make sure we keep opportunities to have fairs, to have racing. So, very critical time. I think we need more communication and more discussion at this meeting. So if they're willing to talk to us, let's talk to them and figure out how we can help, because we have a lot of details that we'd like to share with them on what we think is important on running this facility. So thank you.
Well, I can say that they are, and they will be happy to spend as much time as needed to have those discussions, certainly publicly in this forum as well.
Yeah, I think, coming into Nashville, it's confusing for us as well. There's a lot of different parties that have vested interests in this facility, and we want to make sure that they're all represented. So, it includes the neighborhood and includes a lot of things here. So, if that's it on that, anybody else? New business, state 2020 Tennessee State Fair Association contract.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if anybody would be interested in participating in discussions. We certainly want to move forward with that, starting with getting a contract set. So just open it up for anyone, if there is interest from having someone on the board participate in those discussions.
I'd be happy to. I'm sure Aaron would, whatever. But yeah, sure.
She's not here.
Yeah, we should pull in Aaron. Yeah.
She did a great letter, by the way. Very well written and thoughtful. And, things changed from our Tuesday meeting to when she was sending it. And, she obviously couldn't talk to the rest of us. So it was well done, and there was obviously a flurry of activity right after our meeting, and a lot yet to do. So, but anyway, thank you, Aaron, and congratulations. That was a well done message from the board. Okay, should we move on to the next Neighborhood Impact Advisory Committee?
If Chairman Hort, well, do you want me to make a motion on that? Yeah, I think we better. Well, I'll make a motion, then I have a quick discussion point. I'll move to that the board designate Chairman Horton as the board member to conduct negotiations for the state fair. Just quickly on discussion, one thing I would sort of, since this is, I guess, the chance to instill some thoughts for the process. One thing I found last year as being the board member negotiating is, we can, I think we worked on some interesting financing structures to help make sure the state fair, we met their needs for being, meeting the financial piece, which seemed to be a big part of putting on the fair, and just continue to be creative. I mean, I think that the board is unanimous that the state fair will continue here for as long as the state fair chooses not to leave us. But I'd also love to see a multi-year agreement. I was thrilled to hear Scott tell us last month that they can continue to put on a good fair here. I agree, and I think that that's really important. So I would just say that I would kind of pass those thoughts along, and if we can do a multi-year agreement with options and everything, let's do it. I want to be clear that I think there's great possibility the state fair can continue to thrive here and use the campus in different ways too. And so I think both sides are in agreement that the state fair can be really good here. So I'm glad that there's that kind of consensus going into these negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this facility has never been 100% ideal. That's been, because of the hill and a lot of different factors. And obviously, the terrain here has changed. The lay of the land has changed. But if we can work together to make it a good home for the long term, we'd like to do that. Yeah.
I guess relatedly, I know there's the state fair RFI coming out. I didn't know if you've had any discussions with the mayor's office about getting some direction on that and kind of how appropriate next steps for that.
We will. We're trying to get a meeting on the books for this week yet.
Yeah, we had discussion. We can take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Then the Neighborhood Impact Advisory Committee.
So as Commissioner Bergeron mentioned, the Neighborhood Impact Advisory Committee was originally put together as part of the Speedway contract. It really opened the door for monthly dialogue, formal dialogue with the community about impacts. And right now that committee has dissolved, but we have certainly all the desire to go ahead and try to get that re-engaged. Been talking with Councilman Sledge on how to do that and what the radius. I think we are certainly interested in maybe expanding it outside of the neighborhoods that traditionally have been represented in that group. But I think working with Councilman Sledge, we can re-engage that group, grow the group. Over the years, it certainly was not confined by just discussions about the track and the schedule, but it really was a good opportunity to talk about how the campus is used comprehensively, and we certainly got into a lot of discussions about our events. Scott was always there to update them on maybe traffic concerns or when we had like Van's Warped Tour, for instance, on a Tuesday, how traffic around some of the neighborhoods could have been impacted and what steps we were taking to send out notifications. And also that group did provide a mechanism for our discussions to be more broadly shared through neighborhood groups and advocacy groups in the neighborhoods surrounding the fairgrounds. And so that was really beneficial to us because our communication numbers, it was just, we were able to hit a lot more of the neighbors and get that information out. So that was really, really helpful. So obviously we want to get that group reformed very soon, as the racing season's going to be kicking off here very soon, and certainly our outdoor events. We've got a couple festivals that we are kind of finalizing dates for 2 outdoor festivals, and I'm sure there will be plenty of interest with that. And that group can also serve as part of the public engagement as we move forward with stadium construction and certainly with continuing discussions on the Speedway.
So do we have, actually, Jason, do you have anybody that in the neighborhood we could?
Thinking about it. Well, and I think that the most important thing that Laura said was broadening the scope. You know, we have this campus is about to do a lot more, and if there is going to be any, if there is going to be any change at the racetrack, SMI or whoever that operator would be is going to have to be engaged with NEAC on a constant basis. I mean, not more than monthly, but there are a lot more activities at the campus, and we have to look broader. I'm thinking, we need people on NEAC from Chestnut Hill, pushing over to Napier, pushing over to Edge Hill, 12 South, Woodbine.
Woodbine, yeah.
Yeah, we've got to go in all. There have got to be members of all the communities that surround this site engaged, and it's going to take work, but we've got to find them, and we've got to. There's got to be people. I've been working on my little neighborhood, but that's just one piece, and that's not the only one by any means. We've got to have a really broad group here that know what's going on, but as Laura also mentioned, can sort of be that first touch for the whole surrounding area throughout basically South Nashville. So I think that's a great way to think about it, for them to be able to be that communication point as the changes start to happen. So, but we just got, to the extent the board has ideas on folks all around, we need to identify those people and get them engaged. I think NEAC is vital, a vital public connection point for this for this public site, and we've got to get it functioning at a really robust level.
Yeah, I think between the commissioners and Scott and others in the room, we know a lot of the neighborhood groups. What's the best way to?
I think reaching out to some of the community organizations. I mean, you've got SNAP in the immediate area. There are multiple community organizations in Edge Hill. 12 South Neighborhood Association has an association. I'm not sure about Woodbine, but I would presume Woodbine does. And I think making a touch point with those neighborhood organizations who have active committee structures and whatnot, and have the most active people in their neighborhoods, we could start to find people, identify interested parties who'd be willing to get engaged, especially with everything that's coming.
I've had a previous conversation with Councilman Sledge about this. I think he's already done some kind of workings and has some ideas around this. So since he's already kind of got the ball rolling on, I think probably reaching out to him and seeing what all work has been done already before we kind of reinvent the wheel. So
yeah, and I've talked to Councilman Sledge as well, and I know he's working. But one other idea is, since we're thinking broadly, let's reach out to Councilman O'Connell, who has Edge Hill. I'm trying to think who moves over adjacent to Councilman Sledge the other direction. That's District 16, which is Courtesy Johnson, and I think there's one other. So we should reach out to all those. I mean, heck, who's even over into 12 South isn't all Councilman Sledge either. That's
has through 12 South, and then on the other side is Councilman Cash, I think.
Okay, so
Belmont.
Yeah. So I mean, there's there's nothing wrong with reaching out to Belmont. I mean, I could hear the racetrack when I lived at the Grove off West End Avenue. So reaching out to additional council members to help too, because I know they've got a wider pocket of people than just Councilman Sledge, although he knows a lot.
Okay. One other thing I thought of about this outdoor what are you calling it? The grassy
Courtyard.
Okay. The issue with the bathrooms, where people wanting to use the bathrooms and it's maybe locked from the outside. Is there any modification or adjustment that can be made there?
There is. So, interestingly enough, we've got some events that utilize very, very popular food trucks, and it kind of took Scott and I by surprise a little bit that people were coming in to the property strictly to visit the food trucks and not necessarily go in, purchase a ticket, and have admission into the events. So, in that case, I think we've pretty much identified what those events are that do have that draw, and yeah, we can just, all we have to do is just unlock the restrooms surrounding the courtyard so that they have access. That's certainly easy to do, and now that we know that that is a potential, we just unlock the doors from the outside.
People are very unhappy when they want to use the bathroom. They can't get in. So, okay.
Fair, that is very fair.
Yeah. I think that's it. Anybody else have anything they wanted to bring to the table?
Got their money's worth today.
Okay. If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.